So, what makes a good video game? It's a topic that's been discussed countless times and forever will be. Everybody's looking for that secret sauce as to what makes a good video game is. So let's get started. It's a reasonable thing to say a good game is a game you enjoy playing, and you are totally entitled to say that, and that's fine. But is there more to it than that? What defines a good game? What actually about video games make them good? Or rather, enjoyable? Can you point to something objectively and say yes, this is what makes video games good? Or is it more of a subjective matter where it's down to personal preference that guardians your enjoyment? Or both? I think to know what makes video games considered good, it's important that we look at what people say they are good at, and what in the games trigger their opinions. People could say, the online component made the game good, or the split screen did. But if that's the case, wouldn't all online split screen games be considered good then? I argue it is impossible to single out a game's feature and say yes, this is what made it great, because that piece of content needs context for it to work with the game itself. Let me put it simpler. If one thing in one game made it good, then theoretically, you could take that one thing out the game and make an entire game out of it. And that would be the best thing since sliced bread. Obviously, this isn't necessarily the case, because context. That one thing that's been singled out works the way it does because of the context that it's being used in. Now, a more direct approach is to say a good game is based on the amount of enjoyment you had with it. Again, a very reasonable and logical thing to say, no doubt. However, we must question what made it enjoyable, and to also look past the game's enjoyment factor and analyse the game from a more focused standpoint. What I mean is, if a game is considered good because of how much enjoyment you have with it, then that would be saying the same thing as we can't enjoy games that are lowly rated because somebody else didn't enjoy the game themselves. And these are two conflicting viewpoints. Somebody X enjoyed Y game, somebody Z did not enjoy Y game, despite one game being lower rated than the other. So, going by this, is it safe to say a good game is based on the amount of enjoyment? Okay then, what about technicalities? An accurately coded and large content-wise capability game engine with optimization code makes the game better than one using an old and outdated engine. Have you ever played a game using an older engine that you thought was good compared to a game using a newer engine that you thought wasn't as good? Most certainly you have, or will, experienced this at some point in time. But why is this? Why and how can you enjoy a game using older technology be a better experience than one using newer tech? Well, this brings in a discussion of looking at the game from a more artistic point of view. A game using an old, possibly broken engine can be considered better than a game using a new and well-optimized engine. Derives from the perspective that said games show their artistic value more valuably than the other. And again, what makes us think that? There is no objective go-to answer where we can single out points and say that makes the other game better, especially considering any hardware and software limitations can potentially put one game at a disadvantage than the other. Or so we're told. But is even that true? I mean, aren't there games you still play today that were built for older hardware that you consider good more so than games made for newer hardware? Of course you do. I think being pure about a game isn't correct. And what I mean by that is if we look at the game from a From an objective or subjective view, we would be going in circles. So then what do we look at the game with to determine its goodness? Well, for example, if you were to say the game has smooth, well-responsive gameplay feedback compared to another game of the same genre that had input lag and dissatisfying gameplay feedback, is it safe to say the game with better responsiveness is automatically better? As we discussed earlier, we can't single out features and say this makes the other better, because context is needed to judge how well that specific thing works in that situation, alongside the other mechanics of the game itself. Now then, it's also very easy to say a game with more graphic fidelity, professional voice acting, 60 FPS and lots of visual feedback is better than one which lacks all those. We aren't singling out features now, we're comparing multiple ones directly to a game of the same genre. Naturally, we humans are attracted to things that are made to our interests. And our interests are our own individual subjective tastes. That's somebody else that may not share those same views. If person A likes graphic fidelity and 60 FPS compared to person B, who likes cel shading and 30 FPS, it is natural for person A to say the game that caters to their own personal subjective interests is a good game, and vice versa for person B. But is this to say that good games are only ones that cater to our interests? Well, let me talk to you this way. Our interests and taste in games change over time, and what we may like today, we may dislike tomorrow. What I call a good game now, I may look back and call it a bad game in 10 years' time. In this instance, I have called a good game now a bad game, solely based on the evolving development of my interests and taste in games. The game is exactly the same, but the only thing that has changed is my own subjective view on what makes that game good. Modern military shooters may be good to a lot of us now, but in 20 years we all may look back and think how foolish we were, thinking how those games are even good, despite us saying that they are all good now. Something I'd like to add on my own is that there are games that are considered timeless. But what makes them so? Well, it is several things that makes games stand out to the test of time. One being memorable pieces of content within the game that stick with you throughout time. No, more than just memories, but where you can go back and play the game and still be entertained and challenged, like the first time you ever played it. For me, level design, soundtrack, voice acting, and content that suits my interests are games that stand out the test of time. So yeah, just made this video to get this off my back and out there. I'm looking forward to what you guys think about all this. Until next time.